Okay. Another Let's Talk video here, and we are going to go into the recent controversies of Xbox and PlayStation. First up, there's two big elephants in the room. One's green, one's blue. It's with the fan bases and well, actually one is like controversy with the fan base, and the other one is controversy with developers and people who work in the industry. So right now the whole gaming industry is on fire for different reasons, even though they are actually, the things that are in question here are not. It's such a weird thing for everything to be in question. Okay, so let's start with the Xbox stuff. First up, so Xbox just shut down Arcane Austin, Tango Works, and a couple other studios. So basically what you see over here, Dishonored, Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush, Evil Within, Prey, they're all gone now. The studios are no more. All the developers that were working on those titles, they have, they got to find more work and new work. And so I want to start off first thing of all saying that, like, anybody who, is working in the industry and is, affected by the layoffs, affected by these jobs being cut, and in the studios, essentially it's their dream job. If they're working on their dream project in the games industry on these titles, essentially Microsoft just slashed their dreams. That is terrible. I hate seeing it, but you are working for Xbox brand, you are working for Microsoft, and you are working for a company that is working to make stuff for Game Pass. So, overall, whether you were with the company for 10 years plus, or any of that stuff, it should have been in the back of your mind of that, this could be a thing. And you can also try and make the whole thing of like, oh, Hi-Fi Rush, because that is actually one of the big selling points that somebody tried to make, was Hi-Fi Rush is essentially, I guess we'll just bring it over to here. So Aaron Greensberg is VP Xbox Games Marketing at Microsoft, board member, Gamers Outreach, Special Effects VP. So Aaron Greensberg, he is one of the top guys at Xbox. Back in 2023, back when Hi-Fi Rush launched, he said Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us, meaning Xbox, and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Gameworks delivered with this surprise release. So this got brought back up on the attention of everyone because of a certain inside leaker. I won't even say his name because I don't even want to give him recognition. I think he's full of a lot of stuff. So yeah, the higher ups, of course, they're going to be saying that because marketing wise, they were selling Game Pass through, essentially, they were selling Game Pass through Hi-Fi Rush. That's what the game did. Hi-Fi Rush sold Game Pass. It doesn't sell Game Pass anymore. Not for the long haul. Who knows what they were working on up next after that? It really sucks because one of the leads that was in the studio for Tango Works, he was a former guy who worked on like Resident Evil, and I do believe Devil May Cry and such. So. And he got out of the company because most likely he saw the writing on the wall with what was happening. And everybody is acting like this is like the worst thing ever, when it's like, well, you can kind of see the writing on the wall if you're working for an Xbox development studio of, that's what they're going to end up doing. If they can cut costs any which way, they're going to do it to make sure that Game Pass is their, that is their profit margin. Also on top of that, Xbox barely turns a profit because they lose so much money on hardware sales, which is the reason why probably the next Game Pass box 2.0 is going to be the last piece of hardware that they put out, where that's my big prediction on all this stuff anyways. So let's see here. So Mike Ybarra also did a tweet, and he is former president of Blizzard, and now he works as a corporation VP for Microsoft. Because a lot of people are going after Phil Spencer of like, well, what the hell, Phil? You were saying like, all these game studios, like basically everybody's going at Phil, painting him the bad guy, which In all honesty, Phil, I mean, we've kind of been lies, that he's literally lied to everyone's face on live stream and everything. Again, I don't have no love for Xbox outside of like Game Pass gives me access to some titles and all that stuff on the cheap. If the companies are going to make that decision and put their titles on Game Pass, then I will play them, like EA titles and Ubisoft titles, whatever. If they're on there and they're available and I can get them for cheap, I'm going to do it unless I already own them because I've done a launch night on them. And that's the thing. If I do a launch night on a game, I have bought it. I've fully paid for it and I own it. Knowing him as a human, I know this hurts him as much as anyone else. I can't speak for all the leadership there, but I do know him and I do know what he is likely going through. It's funny. So like GTA 6 is trending. So again, it is Twitter land, and that's one of the things with the Twitter land, Twitterverse over here is people do say a lot of stuff on there. Who knows how the context is of how he's saying this? I always say like the best way of putting context on something is making a video, because when you can hear somebody's words, you actually get the context of what they're trying to be saying. Let's see here. I'm not trying to defend the decisions. I think we all get ourselves into situations that are tough and unexpectedly. Certainly I have. Part of the job, accountability for the outcomes, but he's a good human, 100% understand the anger and confusion. Feel deeply sorry for those teams impacted today and over the last few months. I didn't agree with every decision he made at Xbox. I think that was pretty clear. Mike knows what's going on because he literally is VP of Microsoft. He knows what the game plan at Microsoft is. He knows that these studios are kind of a dime a dozen to Microsoft. And that's one of the things with Phil overall with all this stuff is like, Phil is just doing his job. He is doing the business dealings of Microsoft the best way he can. But the problem is that Microsoft is buying success. They are not building success. And I keep trying to say this over and over again. So when we have something like this, where all these studios get shut down and all of a sudden, if they have to develop a new game like Hi-Fi Rush 2, they bought Hi-Fi Rush. And as soon as that game got done, that studio's days were numbered. They bought Redfall. It didn't have success. That studio's days were numbered. They bought Starfield. They bought, now Fallout is doing a great thing. Is because they have a TV show invested in it. I think Elder Scrolls Fallout and Starfield is super set for right now until they get maybe the next like 2 games, like Elder Scrolls and a new Fallout, and then Starfield DLC. After that, Microsoft is going to have to start pushing money back into those companies, because these projects were already in development when the studios got bought. And this is the thing that everybody needs to really pay attention to, is because this is what Microsoft's business is. If they have to push money into something, why would they do that when they can just buy success of another game's license, put it on Game Pass, and they make that much more profit back? In all honesty, they might have to do that because the Xbox it has no product on it whatsoever at all outside of third-party products that, and what I mean by third party is third-party licenses that they are buying, like spending millions of dollars on. Some of them are up to like $10 million. I know there's just like 2 or 3 of those is $10 million each for a few of the EA titles that are there that we see access to. The thing is, Microsoft kind of has to do this because Sony is willing to do it, and also the storefronts on PC are willing to do it. So it's like, how do we turn a profit on a console for Xbox? And this is the reason why Phil Spencer has already come out and said the next Xbox will most likely be the last one, because everybody's starting to shift over to PC just because you get more bang for your buck out of the PC. You can mod stuff and everything. Like Bethesda's games, if that is the top thing that Microsoft is putting out right now through Bethesda Studios, that they just spent all that money acquiring the studio, and say like Fallout is the number one, Fallout 4 is literally the number one thing on storefronts, then the best way of playing that is not on your Xbox. It is actually either a PlayStation 5 to get better frame rate overall, because it's like back compat, issues with the older Xbox coding and everything, or you go on PC and you get the top tier experience. But then you can also, run either officially supported mods or whatever, or you can just go through Nexus mods and get a ton of extra stuff on and in the game and everything. So again, smart money is run the PC version of Fallout. Now, are you going to have some problems with Fallout 4, from different updates and everything? Sure. Now, again, if Microsoft foot the bill for a Fallout 4 next gen patch, and everybody's complaining about that now, and everybody's like, well, it's screwing up the game and this and that, that's more money that they just wasted technically in their eyes, because now everybody's complaining about that. So that's another thing where we have like this whole complaint system happening with the fan base on top of also the dev teams. It's like, again, sure, go into development with Microsoft, make that one game that's, or actually it's not even that you're making a game, you're just helping out with something, with a project that's already been in development. Now, the closest, so the closest thing you could maybe say is like Hellblade 2 is something that they've been building, but even that is kind of hard to say that they've been building it, because the team that is working on Hellblade 2, they already had that game established on the PlayStation. Microsoft bought the license, brought the game over exclusively over to the Xbox, and now it's on PC, of course, because Game Pass is available on the PC. That's the only reason why it's available on the PC. And basically, what they're doing is, it's not so all the concepting and everything else of trying to make a new IP was already done. They bought that stuff. So now they go, okay, well, we can foot the bill, and we can give you the cash to be able to build up the studio enough to where now you can work with this, with the game engine, do mocap and all that stuff. I mean, they were already doing mocap and everything, now they're just working with Unreal Engine. So basically, all Microsoft, it's best case scenario for Microsoft with Hellblade 2, because now it's like all the tools are already there that studio is working with. They just have to basically just buy the license rights to use Unreal Engine. And now, boom, all of a sudden you have, that much more of a next gen experience that they can, be like, it's our game now and everything. But again, in the core aspect of it, they still bought it. They bought it out from the competitor. It's not even competitor. Like PlayStation and Xbox are not competing. That's just fan war stuff. Like Xbox and PlayStation are on two very separate things. So they announced that Alpha Dog Games will be closing. Developer of Mighty Doom, which is, I guess it's kind of even more of an arcade version of the Doom title, it's come to an end, as our servers will be shutting down on August 7th. We have stopped players' ability to purchase any additional in-game currency. When I was reading through that one, I was like, oh shit, that's right. There is a ton of microtransactions built into Microsoft games, because again, that's how they're making a lot of money off from everything. Is, you put it on Game Pass, and people get access to the game for a low tier price. So then how do you make up the money in the long run? You sell them a bunch of microtransactions. Again, it's a very mobile game way of doing business, but it works tenfold, because I mean, the majority, like, it's like a 70-40, maybe even 80-30 split of player base that will buy microtransactions like nothing. So that was definitely something that was interesting reading into. It was like, oh yeah, they're gonna, apparently they're also going to refund a lot of the microtransaction stuff too. I would see like Redfall probably also having that too, but then again, not a lot of people probably sunk any extra cash into it, other than just like the first price of getting into Redfall, because Redfall just wasn't good. Overall, it just was not a good game. I played it once and I was just like, nope, I'm done. I could care less to go back to it. And a lot of majority of people felt that same way. So Helldivers 2. And I know the majority of all the content creators are jumping on the bandwagon of like, oh my god, it's a win for the player base and everything. Well, the player base was dumb to begin with. Outside of the fact of like, yes, there is regions that cannot access PSN apparently or something, and 177 countries can't access PSN. Well, those 177 countries are actually little regions that of the world that are like third world country, and I'm surprised that you would have even an internet connection to connect to the internet to begin with, for the majority of everything that's on the list. of those countries. And some of the ones that are on that list of places that you can't connect to, because I did a quick search of 118 countries. Sorry. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Eastern European countries, almost the entirety of Africa and most Central America. I mean, again, the amount of probably bandwidth lag that you would have in those countries, it's probably a good thing that they aren't online connecting. Like, I'm talking any game whatsoever at all to or to any network whatsoever at all, because I mean, if they have high ping latency and they're trying to do co-op, and then they end up in somebody's lobby, and then it just makes it bad for everyone. Like, they're gonna have a bad experience, you're gonna have a bad experience. I say it on every game that is competitive. Like, if you have bad internet connection, even if you live in the US or something, or in like England or something, and you just have bad internet connection, don't play online. Download your games, do your single player game stuff and all that, go on awesome adventures and everything, but why play online? It's just going to be a bad situation. It's just going to be a bad time. Anyways, so yeah, apparently there's 118 countries that don't have access to PSN, and that went into, let's switch over to here, which was so there was, and this is like one of those things where I'm 100% against review bombing, but apparently there was a bunch of content creators that were like, yeah, let's review bomb the Helldivers 2's Steam. And it's just like the Steam stuff that got review bombed. And then apparently now the reviews are back to positive because the player base can work together so well. And again, I was like, this all happens roughly 48 hours ago, and everybody jumped on the bandwagon of like, I'm going to say screw Sony, I'm going to jump right in. I waited a little bit now to make this video just because I wanted to see like everything that was going to end up happening, because and they added on just on the Steam version of this, because of course if you're on the PlayStation you had to have a PSN anyways, but you had they added a thing of you have to log in using a PlayStation Network account, and then you could, it's just an extra login of a PlayStation Network account. That's literally all it is. So you don't have to pay any extra. It's not like you have to buy PlayStation Plus or anything to jump in online on PC. It was still free to play. As far as I know, it was still free to play. I haven't heard anybody complain about that. I mean, the reason why I'm talking about this whatsoever at all, or covering this whatsoever at all, is because this actually makes me just hate Helldivers 2. And also the fan base that's around Helldivers 2, because to me, this is just so fucking entitled. It's ridiculous. So PlayStation had to do a whole thing of like, Helldivers fans, we've heard your feedback on Helldivers 2 account linking updates. Again, it's just an account linking update. It wasn't even that serious. The May 6th update, which would have required Steam and PlayStation Network account linking for new players and current players, beginning May 30th. Will not be moving forward. Yeah, and so like everybody jumped on the bandwagon of this stuff and just pooping on Sony. All of a sudden there's, Sony's the worst publisher ever and everything. And basically what I was seeing was content creators, and this is, I will 100% shun content creators that push for putting negative reviews on something just because of an extra login situation. Like, if the game didn't work and it just like all of a sudden, outside of the countries where PlayStation Network isn't available or whatever, like if they did a game breaking update that was like, oh, you need a online pass, like $10, like EA's old online pass thing. If they had done something like that where it's like you have to spend an extra like $10 to access online everyone around the world, something like that. Whether on PC, let's say, like, again, if you have to like buy PlayStation Plus to be able to play the game, and it's not just like, oh, you got to link your PlayStation Plus account. So what I'm probably thinking, I can't stand listening to anybody talk about this that are content creators, because they're all just like, Sony bad, publishers bad, blah. So as far as what I've seen on all this stuff is that the only reason why this was a thing was to give players the ability to earn trophies off from PlayStation Network when you're on PC. And this is the reason why you're going to have to do this in the future anyways with PlayStation titles, because they're adding the PlayStation Network to PC, and everybody was complaining already that I don't want another PlayStation Network game launcher. I already use Steam, I use Epic, or I use this, I use that. And so they're just like, okay, fine. We'll just add a feature into the game where you log into PlayStation Network. You can talk to your friends across multiple consoles and platforms. You can earn trophies. You can send messages. You have all the feature ability. So Sony was literally trying to do something nice, and then the PC fan base just because that's PC master race, people for you. And then this happens, review bombing. And again, if it was just a PC master race throwing a crybaby fit about everything, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. It's just another day at the office. But when I see review bombing happening because of content creators saying, no, we need to go and put negative reviews on this. And literally that affects the developers that are actually trying to work to make this thing. And it also gives Sony a bad name overall when Sony is doing a hell of a good job at being one of the top publishers in the world of gaming, and they are helping out development studios tenfold left and right. Make sure, like, Helldivers 2 would have never even happened if it wasn't for Sony. But then to put another nail in the coffin of this thing, then we have this whole thing: restore the honor of Helldivers 2. Now that democracy is saved from the tyranny of Sony, for liberty for super. It's such bullshit by these developers. But because everybody feels like they're a part of something, oh my god, this feels like Call of Duty all over again with Activision. They're like, these developers are going to end up doing something that the players don't like, and they're going to be like, well, we are this, they're going to go so far into the pun, they're going to lose their fucking fan base. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. You can already feel it, like that's going to be something, because they've already had to make apology letters on Twitter 2 or 3 times over again now. And people are just like, no, Helldivers, because Call of Duty has taken such a, I'm pretty sure this is what it is. My gut feeling says all the Call of Duty fan base that can't do anything on Warzone because there's so many hackers and cheaters, they went over to Helldivers. And now that's where that whole mentality of that type of fan base is now in Helldivers too. Which is terrible on Sony part, because we've had very vocal, passionate fan base that is loving all the single player stuff, and now it's just, we're gonna have this group of the fan base that are just like, we need nothing but multiplayer stuff and fuck stories and all that. Nobody cares about story mode, nobody cares about single player game, and it's just that whole mentality. Like, I just want to hang out with my friends in the game. Well, no, games, storytelling experience of a game is so much more than just hanging out with your buddies on the weekends. Like, there's so much more to it now, and that's what Sony has been trying to build up and cater to. So again, I from day one, when I seen everything on Helldivers 2, I've just been like, oh god, this is like, I can't even remember if Helldivers is a PlayStation Studios title technically, or if it's just a third-party game that PlayStation helped publish. Either which way, Sony helped Helldivers be a thing. So it's just, to see review bombings and everything. And then when you come over to YouTube, it's just, again, like, it's, when I say content creators, it's like, yeah, PlayStation responds to Helldivers drama. We won. Sony finally fixed it. The players won. They won. Sony removed Helldivers PSN requirement. And then the stupid little cape thing that they're giving everybody to be like, you guys did a thing. And the cape also had like some other little, there was another hit at Sony too, on the description in the cape. And it's just like, if it was like, they are just biting the hand that feeds. And that's all that this stuff right here is doing. So it's just like, if I was the next, CEO of PlayStation, I'd be like, okay, well, Helldivers 2 is going to be the last game that these guys, you guys are just going to be working on Helldivers from now on. We're not going to greenlight any new title. If you want to make a new IP, tough shit. It's done. If you're going to go at the same company that helped you make a career for yourself at this point, because what was Helldivers before this? It was a forgotten PlayStation portable game, a PSP game back in the day. totally forgotten. Like everybody's like, what the hell? Helldivers 2? What was the first Helldivers? And literally everybody had to make a video showcasing like what the hell Helldivers was. And the developers of Helldivers kind of screwing over themselves in the long run, because now they are going to end up making enemies with the same people that pay their checks. That's not exactly a smart move to do. Anyways, yeah, that's my thought train on all this. I was this close of like, maybe if Helldivers goes on sale, I would check it out just to make, a video of like, hey, maybe have a Mass Effect crossover with Helldivers, Rachni War, just do something like that. And after this happened, it was just like, no, that just, it was just kind of, again, like nail in the coffin of just like, that's just some of the dumbest things that I could ever imagine happen, and it happened. So it just seems like in a lot of ways, gaming is getting to the point where there's so much developer secrecy that happens, and then there is so much clickbait stuff that gets tossed around for the fan bases to like dig into and all that stuff, because it's like we already have, again, the mystery of gaming is totally gone, and then you have the leaker rumor mill of people that will start up a trend. And now that if we're going to start seeing developers jump on that bandwagon of getting the clickbait stuff themselves and to get the player base in on the product, that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope of just it will probably be a filtering mechanism for for Sony publishing. And the problem with this is you're going to have really stupid points of views from content creators. I'm not saying any names whatsoever at all. You know who's done it. Of them just them also doing the clickbait thing of, oh, I can make a video, I can make a short, I can talk about this on a live stream and get everybody riled up. And then again, it's just that really bugs me when I see the content creator side of things, of them actively saying, go and put a negative review on this product on Steam to show Sony, arrogant bad guy Sony, even though they are trying to give you a new feature to add to your profile. And I mean, we've seen that before, happen, where content creators have said and done some dumb stuff like that before. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I think that's pretty much all to be said on these subjects. They'll do it for this one. So news story. Hopefully we get some more positive news. We are going we're getting towards the June timeline where we're going to have a bunch of exciting stuff happening. Possibly new hardware being teased and showcased and everything, because next year everything is looking like next year is going to be a hardware year. So we'll see what happens there. But until then, I will keep going and doing the thing. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, I will see you next time.